Here he is. Gazla, live again.
Steady. Another YouTube, another video.
Steady. That was a great Jar Jar Binks impression. Oh, welcome to YouTube, people. This is the second stream, guys. So if anyone even sees this, this will be fantastic. But we've got to say, welcome to those that are definitely seeing this right now. We should do like a little share of it. Shall I do a little share?
Yeah, go on.
On the what are you thinking? Like, should probably share it on the internet, shouldn't I?
On the internet, that thing. Yeah, we should probably do that. Let's. I'll put a tweet out as well. Let's go on the Twitter as well. Come on.
Go on, then. You know about Twitter. Yeah, easy, innit?
Yeah,
easy.
You know about that thing. Yeah, it's easy, innit? Yeah.
Live talking. This is brilliant. This is planning. We need a VA for this one day. YouTube.
One day. Right. Spark of Rebellion is doing something online.
Guys left him. Forgot about that.
Cool.
There we go. Tweeted. Shake that tweet. Miss Gaza, shake that tweet. You like that? Saturday. It's 2K04 Bants. Right, let's do this. Podcast recording. You live beauties. Podcast recording. Here we go. I'm going to hit record, Gaz. Is that all right with
you? Yep. Don't need your permission, but yeah.
Well, you got it anyway, so
go for it.
Hello there, and welcome to Spark of Rebellion, the Star Wars show, coming to you from a galaxy far, far away. Not that far away, actually. Straight through the hyperspace lanes. Chuck a left at Dantooine. You'll happen upon Gaz in his bedroom there, probably doing something shifty, knowing him. We're going to talk today about that old rumor that he's really not that old. It's like 2 weeks old, about them rebooting the Star Wars sequel trilogy. That keeps coming up. So we're going to talk about that. And it turns out, Gaz, that EA might not be done with ramping out the Star Wars game. So we'll get your gaming thoughts on that, because you are the gamer of the crew, really. I mean, I've got a game, but you are the gamer. So you credit other gamers, which is good for you. So we're going to dig into that in just a sec. But of course, this is Spark of Rebellion. And do you know what? Even though we release the podcast every single Saturday, we also put this out live on YouTube as we record it. So you get a little bit of behind the scenes banter, a little bit of the what's going on, a little bit of the pre-record lols. So you can come and join us over at Spark of Rebellion on Twitter as well. We do that every Friday at 3 p.m. ready for Saturday's release. So if you're on YouTube right now, leave us a comment, say hello. But if you listen to the podcast as ever, thank you so much. And look, we're actually about to revamp some of our Patreon stuff as well. Now, I know it's a little bit much, COVID, all that good stuff. What are you asking for £3 a month for? Well, you're going to get yourself a pretty sexy laptop sticker, because Gaz, our resident designer, he's a designer, despite his plaid shirt being missing today. We have some new stickers being designed. Well, that's the old one. That's the old one.
Yeah, but still get one.
Well, yeah. So you could also get an old one if you join us on Patreon. But Gaz has been working on some new ones as well, which even I've not seen yet. I'm sure they're absolutely banging, because everything that Gaz does is banging, including, of course, his beard and his hair. So looking forward to that. And you can join us over at patreon.com/Spark of Rebellion. So before we get to EA, before we get to some of these crazy rumors surrounding the sequel trilogy and some new Star Wars toys, let's bring on the main man himself. I'm going to say he's chewy to my hand, but that sounds weird. So I'm just going to say hello. All right, guys.
Bants.
Touch bants.
Oh, I do.
All right,
guys. Yeah, it's been a fairly slow week for the old Star Wars. The only thing that I have been doing is I still need to get to season 7 of the Clone Wars, because I've got this weird OCD thing where I start the rewatch, and I think because I'm doing the chronological order thing that they put out on StarWars.com many moons ago. So I've gone through all that stuff, and I think if I try and work it out, I've probably done about 5.5 seasons out of the 7. So I've picked that up again. I've watched about half a dozen episodes so far this week, but I just cannot jump forward in time and start watching the season 7 stuff. My mind just won't let me. So I've been going through that, which I absolutely love. The more, because I've watched them all before, but now I'm going through this rewatch in the run up to watching season 7, which I haven't watched. But every time I watch them, especially as you go further through the each season, the story writing's so good, man. And the characters are so good, and the animation style's amazing. I just love it, man. So I've not started any new Star Wars books this week or anything, but I have done a bit of Clone Wars action. So not too bad, mate. What about you?
Not too shabby, and I totally get that, dude. I sort of tried the same thing when season 7 came out. I was like, I just can't do it. I just could not get through Clone Wars again. It's not because it's bad. It's just that it's a hell of a lot of watching. So I kind of cheated a little bit. Watched all the Ahsoka ones and then just really kind of dove into season 7. Although I did read Son of Dathomir. Is it Son of Dathomir, the one that I'll not spoil it, but it's one that kind of follows on from, the storyline where Palps beats Savage Opress and Darth Maul's asses back down. Mm-hmm. He trips out, doesn't he? And he gives him a little bit of a whooping. Doesn't even break a sweat. It follows that up because chronologically that's just before season 7. So it's quite a nice little thing.
Right. Cool.
Which is quite nifty. Kind of bridges the gap. But no, this week, dude, I finished Fallen Order for the first time. I never got all the way through it. I always liked the game and kind of always got halfway through it. But I finally finished it, which was good. Sadly, on the Xbox One S, so it looked like a PlayStation 2.
Got it.
But although I did download it then for the PS5 with EA Play, I got 79p EA Play. I was like, EA Play, it's in the bank. So I got that 79p, downloaded it. Dude, the graphics are just far better.
Well, it's more the frame rate, mate. The frame rate's just solid on the new consoles, right? Because it still maxes out at like 1440p or whatever tech number you want to put on it. So yeah, the graphics are a little bit better, but for me, it's the 60 FPS, dude. It's just it's a much better experience.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is, I don't think you appreciate how bad the Xbox One S was for it, dude. I'm talking like when you got Greaser's hair, it looked like there are pixels on the hair. Like that's not a lie.
The
it
hair,
was
though,
bad,
mate.
dude.
Even on the next gen consoles, the Wookiees, they still look like walking melting chalk ices. What's going on?
You don't want that. No one wants that.
Wants
but it was good. I enjoyed the storyline, though. Like totally setting up the sequel. So I really enjoyed that. That's what I got through this week in the old Star Wars verse. And I didn't expect the old big surprise cameo at the end, the unbeatable. So that was quite nice. What are you looking like that for? You know what I'm talking about.
He knows. He knows.
He knows. Don't have to say it. I know I'm rock and roll through and through.
Lines.
Coming at that from a different angle. So let's get to some news and some views. Right. So we've got I don't even want to say it, but I'm gonna say we do it on YouTube now, so we'll probably get rinsed for this. Doomcock's back.
that sets the tone immediately for what's to come, right? Doomcock's back. Here we go.
I'm almost expecting they're reinventing Mickey Mouse to have 3 ears because Kathleen Kennedy is not happy with the current 2-ear variation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of diatribe that we're dealing with. I don't know. It's just crap. But anyway, let me go through it then. And this story actually got picked up by the Express in the UK. So totally legit. Which is basically Doomcock now going back on about the sequel trilogy being remade. Like it will not let it drop. Like it was going to be World, what's it called? Worlds Between Worlds, time jumping, reboot. And now it's going to get rebooted into a 3-season series using unseen footage of the 3 OT characters, which fair enough, that probably exists. There's probably like some behind the scenes footage of it, but let's be honest, they didn't shoot that. I don't think they did this footage properly. Apparently they're gonna reboot the sequels in long form format on Disney Plus with 1 season dedicated to, I can't even say it out loud. All right. 1 season dedicated to each movie. Now, I've dug into this, guys. All right. I've dug into this. So
you've done your homework, have you?
Done my homework. All right. Yeah. The early bird catches the milkman doing things that he shouldn't be doing. Right. So I've had a quick look into this. Okay. So this is the rumor that I've just stated. Remake, sequel trilogy. It's going to be a 1 season thing. Right. And then apparently this is a good one. Mark Hamill is open to returning, right? Fair enough. I mean, it's Mark Hamill. He's always going to, first and foremost, going to want to be part of that. But let's be honest, it ain't going to happen in the sequel trilogy, right? So that's that one, right? Then the next part of it, this is just unbelievable, right? So this is the fact that there's now a divide between Favreau and Kennedy, and that Favreau is one of us, right? So this is something that came from a quote on We Got This Covered, right? And there's a really good, interesting point that's been made in regard to this, which is that Jason Ward from Making Star Wars, who, according to We Got This Covered, this is not me, do me, this is them, that's him saying it. Apparently Jason's much more reputable, all right? So this Jason Ward from Making Star Wars has basically said, look, that's a little bit ridiculous because it's completely against everything that a multi-billion-dollar corporation would do when the sequel trilogy continues to make money. And what do they expect to happen? Like, they reckon that Favreau's doing this because he's one of us, and he's just going to sneak it through. It's like, you can imagine Kennedy like, what am I signing? Don't look at that. Don't look at what you're signing. There's no need to look at these edits or the dailies. Don't do any of that. There's no need. Look at that. There's 3 years on Mickey Mouse. Go sign that off, Kathleen. Right?
Oh, God.
Dude, what is going on with this? It feels like someone's just stoking the fire because they want the fans to be up in arms about something.
Look at him. Why not start it with him?
Yeah, Mr. Toad.
Dude, I just can't get my head around just the... You know what's going to happen? Later on in the year, there'll be an announcement. There'll be a shareholder call that they do. Coming 2022, the sequel trilogy reimagined, official Disney Plus job. You know, we're going to slate it now, but of course that won't happen. But dude, I mean, I cannot get my head around why people start this crap. And second of all, who are the people that are listening to it and running with it? That's what I want to know. It's like, all right, fine. You're not happy about some of the stuff in the sequel trilogy. Cool. We all get that. We all feel the similar way. We're all family, right? Star Wars. It's good. I like it. But then, like, some fan stuff starts kicking off. People don't like it. And then forevermore, we're going to have people like, oh, by the way, yeah, they've listened to us, the fans, and they know that we don't like it, so they're doing something about it. Yeah, Disney Plus, it's coming. I don't even know what to say, mate. I mean, we've covered rumors and some nonsense before on this show, but this one, I think, takes the taco for like the best. I mean, for comedy value, keep them coming. You know, for that side of things, it's like, yeah, keep it coming. But in all seriousness, I just cannot. And like you said, they're just trying to sneak it through. It's like, yeah, git commit, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do another one quickly, hide it within that. Don't worry, just approve it, git merge. We're on to a win. I'm like, who thinks that that's how it works over at Lucasfilm and Disney, man? It's crazy. Nuts.
Well, the funny thing about it is, it's you know, I mean, I get why they do it, you know, because look, dude, we are now YouTube stars. We've got a YouTube live stream, man. Like, you know, it's difficult to cope with the fame and the pressure that comes with it. But more than that, it's difficult to keep up with the constant desire and need to get people watching your videos. So, you know, I am completely up for making some stuff up. Do you know what I mean? Like, what can we make? Well, let's just make some stuff up now. Like Jar Jar Binks returns in unseen Mandalorian cameo. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's made up. It's fairly made up.
Yeah, do some clickbaity stuff. Let's yeah, actually, no, Jar Jar Binks is back. But what we didn't know all along is he had a kind of similar vibe to Palpatine. He was really a Sith Gungan. So when he comes back in whatever new thing, let's say Disney Plus, because that's the thing at the minute, it's going to be like Sith Jar Jar. And he's the one that brought Sidious back so that Sidious could clone Snoke and all that lot. That's the play, clearly.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to kill me on the edit. I forgot to press my mute button when I coughed. The fun thing with this is, you can just leave that in.
Professional.
I think I've just got a little, I think it's a notification. It's not a notification. It's actually someone up on the road waving a banner. Apparently, Julie Andrews is not very happy with how Mary Poppins turned out, right? So what they're doing, taking it over to Disney Plus, rebooting it, 12-issue miniseries coming out, recasting Dick Van Dyke role. Bert, he's not going to sing and dance anymore. He's an assassin, former SAS. All right, he's on the roost for a different reason. I don't know.
Machine gun in the umbrella. Yeah.
Hello, Mary Poppins.
Let me get this straight also to clarify what you're saying. Is Doomcock saying that his source is saying that they're going to do a series dedicated to one of the sequel films, or is it just a season that's going to span all 3 films?
No, this is where it's complete hilarity. So get the budget in braining, all right? You spent a fortune on these films, and they made you a pile of money, and the fans still aren't happy, right? You're not Zack Snyder. You're not going to back down. And true enough, the films were pretty ropey, especially The Rise of Skywalker in particular. But you don't have any of that Zack Snyder-esque about you. You don't have a better film in the can. So what do? To answer your question, Gaz, you put probably 30, 40, 50, 100 million per season into 3 seasons to remake them a season at a time, with each season focusing on one of the 3 films. And also, you try and get your foot in your mouth and chew off your shoe, because that's about as likely as this happening. And it's, I don't know. I mean, we could completely be wrong. Imagine that. But I don't think we are, mate.
I see. Now, if it was all 3 films being retold across one season, then we're on to that. No, I'm joking. The whole thing's just ridiculous. It's just, yeah, dude, it's just one of those real cool comedy things. So I don't worry about characters like Doomcock. He's been in, he's seen, he knows the vibe. Yeah, he knows the clickbait game inside and out, right? So I'm not worried about characters like Doomcock. He's playing the game. Fair play. He's getting his clicks, whatever. I worry about the fans that believe it. That's the worrying thing. When you get this wave that just builds and builds, and then before you know it, Kathleen Kennedy's like, what's going on with this series? It's like, no, Kathleen, we're not really making it. That's just a thing that's going on the internet. She's like, oh, because I've read somewhere we were, but no worries.
Yeah. And she's just signing stuff. She's like Trump, just signing executive orders. China. You know what I mean? Just going through with them. And all Kathleen Kennedy is just like, I'm making a lot of bloody Donald Duck sequels here. What is going on with that duck? And everyone's like, yeah. Favreau's like, this is not Iron Man 4.
Yeah, DuckTales is coming back. Live action. Disney.
It's fascinating. Well, do you know what? So another thing that's interesting, right? So this digs a bit deeper on the, I think it's either the We Got This Covered or the Express one, right? So it digs a bit deeper and says that, there will be more stuff coming out about these internal conflicts. So apparently one of the things we can talk about next week is they didn't want Luke. Kathleen Kennedy didn't want Luke in the Mandalorian season 2 finale. Again, how did it slip through? Right. So they're looking to abandon all of these storylines with BY, Baby Yoda and Luke, and just basically undo all of that stuff. And apparently all of this stuff will come down to this internal fracture between Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy. Like, everyone loves a conflict, all right? And this report then goes on to say, yeah, but it's not just Star Wars, it's the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So now you're like, well, wait a second, let's take 18 films. What is an outstanding TV show that's blowing the doors off Disney Plus and Star Wars? Yeah, let's put it all in jeopardy. Let's just put it all in jeopardy. What do people think happens, man? The dollar bills make the rules. Everyone knows that. And they're still coming in.
Yeah. Yep. They're coming in with a sword of Damocles hanging over their head.
All right.
Who's in charge here? Me. Get a new rule book.
Got to go out there and put a smile on now, haven't I? Ruined it.
That is Kathleen Kennedy now, having to tell all of the staff at Lucasfilm and Disney that they're not making the sequel remakes. Brilliant.
Well, Kathleen, I was in the meeting. Well, if you're in the meeting, then you should adhere to meeting rules.
Because the regime don't like it, man.
Come on, Nelson.
And that's the crux of it. That is the crux of it.
You can't understand you. Oh my word! Right, enough of The
God.
Office. That's just mental, mate. And you know, someone's looking at Doomcock going, "I had to let him go in the end." You know, he was
right.
Anyway, let's move on to some more fun news that's actually happening. Right, Hasbro.
All right, bro.
I knew somebody would come in with that. I was thinking, I was trying to think of another one. I was like, George Michael's next release, and then it just went. So Hasbro, they make toys, as you well know, and we've all been there, Transformers and such like. Obviously, they made some Star Wars merch. So Lucasfilm 50th anniversary products, they're coming up, and Hasbro Pulse has put out some pretty badass figures, spanning actually the range of the Star Wars movies. So we'll get everything from a B1 battle droid from episode 1 in some of the old school, remember, like 1999, 2000, 2001 style packaging that they did. They've got some of those with Mace Windu, B1 battle droid, a Qui-Gon Jinn that looks like someone let the face set just enough to hit it in the face and spread it out a bit and then just blow dry it. That's a bit weird. But then the Jar Jar Binks one's pretty cool. So then there's a few of these, and what they've done is they've gone through the movies, Return of the Jedi, and you've got your Clone Wars through the Vintage Collection and some of the Black Series stuff, which I know we'll break down a little bit more in a second. But what they've done, which is quite cool, is they've kind of replicated some of the packaging from the eras that the movies have come out. So it's a quite nice little celebration of Lucasfilm's 50 years. There's some quite nice little things in there. There's a very big distinction between the Vintage Collection Clone Wars stuff, the Black Edition stuff, and of course, like the Battle Droid and the Return of the Jedi stuff. So it's like they've kind of gone through and remolded, the relevant eras, which I think is quite nice. So we'll stick a link in the show notes, of course, so that you can click through and see these. But any of these caught your eye, dude? What do you make of it? And also, what's going on with Kenobi's cloak color? Just let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's like he's been dropped in a vat of Jaffa cakes. Yeah, it looks like the filling you get in Jaffa cakes, right? That's exactly what he looks like.
Yeah, with a head on it.
No question. The head sculpt's pretty good. Not gonna lie, not hating that, but yeah, the cloaks. Yeah, don't know. But these old Kenner ones, I know they've got the 50th anniversary 50 Lucasfilm badge on them, but they still look pretty cool. Like the Greedo one looks cool, and our little Jawa friend. But one thing that I did like the look of was the Windu character. I think that's probably, in terms of what are these? The 3 and something quarter-inch figures, or is it the 6-inch? I can't quite see.
The vintage ones are the 3.75, the Kenner ones.
Yeah, but for a figure that's that small, the face sculpt is really good. Like normally when figures are that small, you take a bit of a hit on the likeness, and you just go for the overall like head to toe thing. But even Qui-Gon's not too bad. He does it like he's had a couple of shots to the face, but Mace Windu, man, he's looking good. I like Windu.
Yeah, Windu looks good. He's actually the most realistic one out, apart from Jar Jar Binks, who's clearly not realistic, and the B1 battle droid that seem really nicely sculpted. Yeah, everything about Windu looks actually pretty much on point, doesn't it? And the Carrie Fisher one's a little bit weird, like that's sort of there, but it's just not quite, is it?
Yeah, it's almost. Same
with the Kenobi, actually. It's like the chin's just not quite there. We'll stick a link in the podcast show notes, but it's just, yeah. But I know what you're saying, dude, for less than 4-inch.
Yeah, it's all good. The only thing I would say is the where's our little friend? Have you heard of the Ewok Paplu before?
No. Have I?
No. That might be a good one. I could see that one popping up on some people's radars, because I don't think he's had much in the way of I don't think they've had much love in the toy department. Obviously, we've seen toys of Wicket and some other little Ewoks, but I could be wrong. But I've not heard of Paplu before, so that might be a good one.
No, I've not either.
No.
Would you keep these in the packet, or would you kind of remove the packaging of these ones? What's your take on that?
I would probably keep the ones that come in the episode 1 cards. I'd probably keep those in the packet, keep those carded. But the Return of the Jedi ones, they don't really scream authentic classic enough to me, even though the design is in the retro style and all that stuff, because they slapped that big 50th Lucasfilm badge on it. It kind of just dilutes the yeah, there's probably just no need to keep them in that package. Just unbox them once, enjoy them.
Yeah, amen to that, dude. Amen to that. It's always nice to see these things revisited, because I think it gives people a chance that have never seen them, or I think the Return of the Jedi Ewoks and Palpatine I had when I was a kid. The old Kenner ones. I remember the kind of molds of them. Palpatine in particular, like the articulation was in the entire robe moved with his arm. So I think for people that have never experienced it, it's quite nice to do it and to get that nostalgia in there as well. You've got something on your face like you're remembering something. What's going on there? What are you remembering?
Oh, those old Kenner toys, man. Oh. It really was just like some of my best, fondest memories of being a kid is, there was a shop down the road from us, and I used to go in there with my mum, and for whatever reason, they sold toy figures. I don't know why. It was just as newsagents, I think. Every couple of weeks, I'd be like, "Oh, I really want that one." So I remember my mum just getting me loads of different Star Wars figures, bless her. Even though she probably couldn't afford it, she was like, "Yeah, go on in." It was one of those. How can I resist that face? Which I still get today. But it was just, lovely, lovely memories of those old Kenner toys. You can't beat it, mate.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. That's the total beauty of this sort of thing, and I think that's why Star Wars is so enduring, that you can keep revisiting everything. Every release of the movies, you get to see a new thing. You get to revisit all that feeling and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's the beauty of Star Wars, man. I totally get that. Speaking of the originals, they're always done with the Skywalkers, aren't they? And then Luke shows up in The Mandalorian, and they're always done with them, but yet they show up in something else. And it's like the Skywalkers will continue to be the biggest draw around Star Wars. It is completely inevitable. So despite being done with them, StarWars.com, which continues to be on form with how it releases its news and its content, has released something that I've actually pre-ordered: Skywalker, A Family at War, a new Star Wars biography, which is quite interesting. And it's by the author Kristin Bava, and the artwork throughout is by someone who is local to us, actually. He's in Leeds. He's a really solid artist. I've got a couple of his pieces up. A guy called Matt Ferguson, who's gone on, I think he's from like the old design days when you and I were on design Twitter, like back in the web days. And he's gone on to do like DC comic stuff. He did a lot of Infinity War and Endgame stuff. He does a lot of stuff with Disney and Marvel. And he's done the cover and the artwork for this. So this book looks quite interesting. It's written from the perspective of being a biography. It discusses the three generations, the legacy, the kind of toil between the light side and the dark side. And this is treated like a biography, which looks quite fascinating. So I've pre-ordered this, dude. It's got a very classic feel to it in terms of the artwork on the front. I don't know what it will be like, but it does dig into biological information on Shmi Skywalker. Goes right from before the prequel trilogy right up to, we assume, later in the sequel trilogy. So actually quite a weird and fascinating thing to put out, man. Something a bit out of the left field, isn't it, this one? So any interest in this, the biography of the Skywalker clan, or as Sean Connery would say, Skywalker clan? Highlander. Aren't you Spanish, Sean Connery, in this film? Yes.
I think you mean adversary, old boy. Dude, I've pre-ordered this, man. No lie.
Oh, here he is.
Same as you. 2 reasons why. First of all, I really like the fact that they're digging into a real, a timeline that digs into the real important events that happen across the entire Skywalker thing. So they've gone to, obviously, the films, but they've gone and looked at a bunch of comic book stories and other books and everything. And they're just building up this real big picture, which is really cool. Because like you said, the Skywalkers, they'll always be an important part of everything. And the other thing is the cover, man. I would happily have this as like a massive A1 poster up on the wall. Totally, man. Like Matt Ferguson's artwork, it's got just that perfect mix of being retro, but also having a kind of modern feel to it with the composition and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a cross between one of those really old cool sort of A sheets or, one sheets from the old cinema days when the original trilogy first came out, but it's got the way the composition's made up, it's got a bit of a modern twist. So for those two reasons, man, I am in. I can't wait for it. When is it? April? I think it's April.
Yeah, it's coming out in April. They normally land a little earlier, don't they? When you get them through Amazon or whatever, they normally land a little earlier. So yeah, I agree, man. I think that everything about that artwork looks fantastic. It's almost like retro in HD. That's the kind of simplistic way of looking at it. But I see what you mean about the composition with the ships and everything. That doesn't feel very 1977, does it? It's very. Do you know what it feels a little bit like? Like when the Mondo prints, or like when like you get like a Raid 71, or you get like even Matt Ferguson or someone like that does a Mondo print of something out of pop culture. It's got that kind of vibe to it. And when like Ollie Moss used to do all his, his Dark Knight stuff, it is just really nice, isn't it? What do you think the size of this is going to be? I don't know if is it a big hardback, do you think? I can't see anything on it.
Yeah, I don't think we know at the moment what the format is, but it strikes me as the kind of book that will be the same as the Thrawn books.
Okay, yeah, fair play.
Yeah, because I don't think it's going to be a huge in-depth book. So it's probably going to be a couple of 100 pages, 300 pages, roughly, tops.
Good for the collection, man. Really good for the collection.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Right, they're back again. The Skywalkers. Guess who's back with a brand new rap? Darth Bloody Vader. He's back again. But before we get to this, do remember Patreon. Hit us up on Patreon if you want some stickers. Gaz is designing some new ones. You can stick them on your laptops. I actually took one off a laptop earlier. Can confirm it comes off really, really nicely. And I know we're going to get to doing some bonus content as well when we reach a certain threshold. So do join us on patreon.com/SparkOfRebellion. And Vader's back. He's been a bit of a bugger-lugs, throughout his tenure as Lord of the Sith. And we saw him in Rogue One. He was kicking ass, taking names. But apparently, we didn't see all of him in Rogue One. Apparently, there's a deleted scene that's doing the rounds. I don't know if we'll ever see it. But over on Twitter, a chap called Hal Hickle, which is a badass name. Hickle. All right, wait a minute. It's Hickle on his Twitter, and they've written Hinkle. So Games Radar, sort that out. They've been talking with the fans, this chap, and he's basically said, look, here's a deleted scene from Rogue One. No one ever saw it. It's Vader in front of what looks to be a thermal readout of a planet. And he also confirmed, this Hal Hickle, that there was a deleted scene between Tarkin and Vader that was filmed. Obviously, Tarkin was CGI faced in that movie, and there's potentially you can just see in this image that we'll put in the show notes, of course, you can see someone off camera, just about off camera, that may or may not be Tarkin. So, I mean, I can kind of see why this sort of thing would be cut. It looks like maybe Darth Vader surveying, maybe a readout on a ship or even on the Death Star as it approaches somewhere like Scarif. I don't think the heat on the screen is meant to show fire. I think it's supposed to be it's a thermal readout of something. So this could be Scarif, it could be something else, which, we know Scarif as a fairly hot planet. I can see kind of why it wasn't in the movie. It doesn't look like it adds that much, but nonetheless, it's still pretty cool to see Vader in such a kind of dominating role, such a role that we don't, when we think of him in context of the New Hope, we don't really see him. We still see him as Tarkin's little pet, which we know that actually was retconned a little bit. It wasn't supposed to be that way. It was just how it was constructed at the time. So quite nice to see a little bit of these retcons going on. The puppet master, the man behind the screen sort of thing. So quite a nice image, but I don't see as it really adds too much to the Rogue One narrative.
No, I think you're right. I think it's a very cool thing to see. And there's probably a very good reason why it was deleted, because it probably just doesn't push the story along enough, that you would warrant, cutting. You'd probably have to cut something else out to put this in. And is that worth it? Because Rogue One's a cracking film. Let's not beat around the bush. It's a very, very good spin-off. Well, I'm going to say it's the only spin-off, but it's not. We've got Solo, haven't we? But, in terms of the spin-off world, It was done extremely well. And also, if you start including Vader more, if you start giving him more screen time, it might have diluted that end sequence a little bit, if you know what I mean, because that has such a massive impact when he turns up, because he's already in it earlier on where Krennic goes to see him on Mustafar. Remember that scene? I'm sure it's Mustafar. And have that conversation. It's all very frosty. It's all very good. But then you don't see him again, do you, until the end when he turns up and just slaughters everybody. So I think the more screen time you give him, the more less of an impact that stuff would make. Because you'd be like, oh yeah, Vader's back again. We've seen him plenty of times. But it is cool in a way that, I mean, this will probably turn up in a book or a comic somewhere, but it is cool that they at least considered that there needed to be additional conversations happening between Vader and either one of these Imperial officers or Tarkin, take your pick. But it's very cool that they were thinking along those lines. Is that, we're not just storyboarding these two parts of the film with Vader in it. He actually had more stuff to do, but just didn't move the plot along. So I love this stuff, man. And it will probably turn up somewhere, like in a video game. There'll be a cut scene between like Vader and Tarkin talk about something, or a comic. So it's badass, dude. It's just one of those times where you think, yeah, that it's probably warranted removing it from the film, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, dude. And it's fascinating how like Vader's grown into this character that requires the fleshing out. I know there's a lot of EU stuff around that, but like in the new canon, obviously it's still kind of open for interpretation. It's such early days with that. Even still, we're only 6-7 years into it, maybe a little bit less. That you've got the opportunity to kind of do a lot of this stuff, and I think that's what fascinates me about all this crap with Doomcock as well. The idea that like, why revisit all that stuff when there's 30 years in the middle? Vader, there's 20 years, 19 years in the middle that we can do so much more with. Like, let as Kylo Ren says, let the past die. Just let the sequels be the sequels, and we'll fill the gaps in. And very often content makes the content that preceded it, although chronologically, it came afterwards. Anything in that gap can theoretically make those movies better as you watch them as one chapter. We talk about that fairly frequently. So yeah, fascinating to see this sort of stuff. Definitely. Now, let's move on to the future of Star Wars gaming. So we know that EA lost the exclusivity for making Star Wars games. And Gaz is up for that. I can see if you're watching on YouTube, Gaz has got some big thumbs up. It's the thumbs up that's big. It's not his thumbs that are big. They look fairly average size to me, although thicker than average, I think, at the knuckle, which could be quite challenging in certain areas of life. So, okay, no, looking good, looking fly. And obviously EA really jumped to, I don't want to say the defensive, but certainly more the reassuring when it came to EA fans, it's in the game. Because they just came out on the 13th of January and said, look, we love Star Wars. We're committed to making them. And they even, had a little bit of banter about BD1 being the cutest. And obviously after Fallen Order, a little bit of redemption after Battlefront, after some of the things that they've done in the past that weren't so hot around the loot crates and, even some of the games that were underdeveloped. Fallen Order is a strong opportunity for them to keep moving forward. But obviously that exclusivity being gone means that Star Wars is up for grabs insofar as, the fans, where do we put our loyalty? What games do we buy? A little bit like COD, the Treyarch games, the Insomniac games, and who was Infinity Ward, is it, that run the other ones. So quite a nice little, diversification of that one. But EA seems to have doubled down, dude. So this week, I think it was the investor call, according to PC Gamer, CEO of EA, Andrew Wilson, just reiterated the fact that just because the range of studios being involved has been diversified, you shouldn't really read that as us being less interested or not putting out as much Star Wars content, of course, including Fallen Order 2. So you're the gamer. You're big into the gaming history. You're far more into the gaming side of things than me do. So what do you make of this? Is there any story here, or is it just more of the same? Fair play, carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, part of me thinks that this is some kind of damage control, but then I immediately think, well, who are you trying to appeal to in this? Because you're certainly not trying to appeal to fans. Like, you've certainly, in terms of gaming, Star Wars gaming as a whole, as the majority of Star Wars gaming fans are very much like this is a great decision. So don't appeal to us as in like, guys, don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We're still making Star Wars games. So I'm pretty sure they're not appealing to Star Wars gaming fans. So then it must be, well, they're appealing to stockholders, a potential, stock. It must be that kind of, it's a monetary thing, because anything to do with Star Wars is big bucks, right? We know that.
Mm-hmm.
So if the words got out to all the shareholders and all that stuff that EA have lost the exclusivity license, and then there's going to be these big announcements, these other big studios are making games, the shareholders are like, it doesn't sound like there's much of a big what's the word, dividends in it for us in the future. So now they're like, don't worry, guys, don't worry, we're still really interested in making the games, we're still doing, we still got a great relationship. So I feel like this isn't so much aimed at the fans, because they don't give a crap either way, as far as I'm concerned. And pretty much every Star Wars gaming fan I've spoke to, either on Twitter or Reddit, whatever, all of them are the same opinion. It's like, this is the much better news than them renewing that license. I can only see this as let's just calm the shareholders. Don't worry, you're still going to get a few coins. I don't know about you, mate. That's how I see it.
I think for a corporation like that, it seems reasonable. But I'm sort of interested in the other angle as well, of like it sort of, I think when you've got multiple studios, and this is not just gaming, I think when it's anything, whether it's Del Rey with the books and the other people publishing the books, or whether it's the movies and the TV shows, different production teams, and I think it pushes you to be a lot better, because you've got to grab your share of the fandom, and you've got to build your fans, and you've got to build your advocates, and you've got to make sure that you're delivering on it. So I think it's quite a nice way of keeping EA in check, and just really being clear on the fact that, do you know what? Like you said, Star Wars is always a multi-billion-dollar franchise. We want as many bites of the cherry as we can get. And if EA wants to keep doing it, there's a cherry to be bitten there for you as well. But we can't keep doing the same stuff that we've been doing. We can't keep that exclusivity. We can't just do one a year, one every 2 or 3 years. If you look at the way that COD works, bloody hell, once a year, man, 3 studios revolving. Sometimes one bails out the other. Sometimes the games aren't great, Black Ops 2. Sometimes they are great, Modern Warfare. You end up with these kind of digressions in quality, but the franchise is always very present. It's not like Halo, where it's like, oh God, it's been pushed back. What am I going to do? You're always very present, and it feels like that's what they want to do with this. And EA, just like you said, maybe looking to appease investors, but also say, look, we are still a part of this presence of mind. We're still a games company that can bring the biggest IP to life in the best quality possible. And it's because they got damaged, didn't they, with the Battlefront 2 stuff? Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, they got they got raked over the coals for that, and rightly so. But I feel like there's a bit of a trend happening as well with gaming, and I hope it continues, where the problem I have with fans of COD and FIFA, those types of titles, where they get, regardless of if it's done well that year, you're always going to get a new one the year after. And my problem with the people who play those games, not every single one, but the majority, is, I can't bloody stand this version of FIFA or COD. It's driving me around a bend. It's made poorly. It's buggy. I hate it. I don't like it. Did you pre-order the next one? Yeah. Well, why did you do that? Well, because it's going to be a new one, isn't it? And all that sort of stuff. Whereas with Star Wars games, there seems to be a bit of a trend of people voting with their wallets, which is exactly what we need. So if you're not happy about this bit of DLC or this game, don't just buy it just because it's a Star Wars game. Because if you do that, you're basically saying to these studios and publishers, EA, look, it's okay for you to put out mediocre games, or games that have got like littered with loot boxes and stuff. It's cool because we're going to buy it. So you have to vote with your wallet. And so I'm hoping that these other studios as well, like Ubisoft and these other players that are coming into it now, they don't see this as just a money grab opportunity. I hope that they see it as an opportunity to tell some good Star Wars stories. That's the main thing.
And we know that's what keeps people coming back with Star Wars, dude. You can put as much action in, as much high quality lightsaber battles, as much melee in as you want, as much whether it's vehicular stuff like the Rogue Squadron stuff or whatever it's called, squadrons. It always comes down to the story with Star Wars, and it really has to be tight. And because there's so much canon, because there's so much love for the canon and the interconnectivity and the mythology, you're right. It really has to be story first, and it feels like a lot of the time that, like you said, with the CODs of the world, and even like Halo 4, and the worst one, like Gears 5, like you've got to balance it so much. You can't just say, we'll use the same game mechanics, we'll do the same old repetition, wrap it in a story. You can't do that, nor can you take an average story or a bad story and wrap it in new mechanics and game technology. There's that balance, isn't there, all the time? And I think that's where you consistently find the refinement. And the people that do it well, they make the games that turn into the games that we talk about for years. Do you know what I mean? The Halo 1, the Halo 3, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah. A good example of that is in the last few years in Insomniac Games with their Spider-Man titles. So they had that real good mix of just cracking character development, cracking story. You wrap that up in the amazing graphics and everything, but you give people an incentive to continue the story if they want to. So you bring out these additional DLCs, which aren't things like, oh, here's a loot box, open it up, you might get a cool Spider-Man suit, you might not. It's actually just all about story. All of those DLCs, I think there was 3, maybe 4 in the end for the first Spider-Man game. And all it does is progress the characters and the story. But they know that because they've made such a great job of the actual core campaign, that most people are going to go and buy them because they really want to continue the story. Yeah. So that's a good example of that stuff. So if you can get that kind of mentality behind some Star Wars games, just really focus on the characters and the story and building that, especially with the big open world ones like this Ubisoft one, that agreement, that one more than anything, because that's got the potential to go either way. That one you could sink into like Destiny 2 type of stuff, or the Division, all that kind of stuff, where you can get sort of bogged down a little bit with loot and acquiring loot and buying stuff for real money. So yeah, man, it's a bit of a minefield, but yeah, like you said, the Halos of the world and stuff, you can see where they've tripped up in the past. So you just hope that they look at all that, which I'm sure they do, but I don't think anybody really wants to put out a bad game, but it's just about having people like us steering the ship. I think that's the key.
Yeah, just like we should have written the original Justice League movie, we should be making Star Wars games. And that's my plan for tonight, actually, is to finish Spider-Man. Not finish it, I'm probably about 40% through it, but it is such a good game, dude. It is such a good game. All right, let's stick a pin in it. This is always fun. So we've got plenty more coming up next week. Maybe we'll revisit the Doomcock saga. We've got some fantastic Luke Skywalker 80s love coming up, and we've got Star Wars, the brand, and Disney dealing with some really absolute knobheads online, let's be completely honest. So that's going to be interesting to dig into next week. But for this week, this has been pretty sweet. We've enjoyed streaming it to YouTube. Do a search for Spark of Rebellion. If we get to 100 subscribers, maybe we'll get our own URL. But of course, until next time, you can grab the podcast in your podcast app of choice every single Saturday, and join us on Patreon at patreon.com/SparkOfRebellion for some shiny laptop stickers and other swag coming down the wire. See you next week. It's going to be a good one. And Gaz, always a pleasure, dude. See your bad self next week.
Thank you very much, buddy. Yeah, it's been great coming back to YouTube for a second week. We've made it back again. As Mark said, we want to get our own URL. So I don't want to do the typical thing, smash the like button and all that stuff, but you know how it works. You know how the game works. So yeah, we'd love to get some more subs. But and also thank you very much to our current patrons. Love you guys. Thanks for coming back. As always, we're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search for us over on there. And until next week, take care of yourselves, and may the Force be with you always.
Boom, shakalaka. Wind your body.
Oh, mate, we're still live. Come on.
I know
we're after more subs, right? We're after more subs.
All right. It's behind the scenes. Like, you got to do the BTS stuff.
This is a peek behind the curtain, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Sure. So
Well,
what
it's
we
all right,
normally
this
do,
YouTube game, isn't it?
yeah, what we normally do when we finish recording is just we just stare at each other for about 30 seconds until the other one turns the camera off. So can't do that this time.
Well,
Wow, he says that.
another one. I've got my Amazon Alexa Echo thing just showing me recipes on the screen. So now I'm starving. Like for an hour, it's just been showing me stuff on the screen. Like you could make satsuki. I'm like, I could, but I'm recording live on YouTube.
I could do, yeah, but fans are watching.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, Alexa. We don't have time for that. We don't have time to eat. All right, team. Listen, this is good. It's good that we're on YouTube. So thanks for tuning in, and get the podcast in your podcast app of choice. We'll be back. We're starting to build the channel. We'll be here. You know, we record this every single week anyway, so we'll see how the channel goes. Who knows what we'll diversify into? But thanks for coming back. This will remain online on YouTube anyway, and we'll get the podcast out tomorrow as usual. So until the next time, enjoy yourselves, stay safe, and we'll be back next Friday. Bye bye.